I don't think that there's an invasive species problem any greater than the axis deer issue.
It's catastrophic. All of this open space is compromised if we can't address the threats like deer.
The changes to the quality of the watershed have been quantified. The threat is very real.
You gotta think outside the box, and you gotta remember that everything ties to everything.
Hawaii is ideally suited for the cultivation of axis deer. They already live a stress-free life in that there's no predators, there's no seasonal stresses, and the way that we source and harvest them is stress-free as well. The family on Molokai that introduced me to these animals saw extraordinary value in them. That's where my relationship with them started. That's what has created the management strategies. It started from a place where we found value in these animals and we love these animals and they provided incredible nutrition for our families, and we wanted to find a way to better manage them so that they weren't wasted.
What we really want to do, what the goal is, to call things, to name things what we want them to be. This is a food resource. This is food.
Maui Nui is never going to have sales goals. We'll only ever have management goals because each group we work with is so different and each group will find different value in different population levels.
I was at a cattlemen's meeting in Kona. Jake was speaking at it. That was the first time that I realized that there was somebody who had a method to be able to work on this problem. One of the biggest problems with the deer traveling across uncontrolled is that they'll take their forage down as far as they can. And so what happens is you end up with invasive species coming in after.
We went into a place to go pace off and see how much feed there was. And I said, oh, Greg, you know, I didn't realize the fire came this far over. He said, this isn't from the fire, this is from deer. We've not been able to graze those pastures because the deer had such a profound effect on it.
There's a lot less ground cover through a better part of the year. The risk for water erosion, just loss of soil organic matter, is amplified because of these deer. With nature, she'll take things a long ways. If you've got uncovered soil, you're losing that soil all the way down. It'll end up right down in the ocean.
Nearshore water quality is a big issue. The reefs of South Maui have been formally designated as impaired because of runoff. The entire Southwest Maui watershed points to the proliferation of axis deer as one of the primary reasons for that. The diversity of the Hawaiian watersheds is critical to their functionality. The introduction of invasive animals threatens that diversity tremendously. You replace a diverse mixture of herbs, shrubs, subcanopy, and canopy species with a monoculture, you're asking for trouble. It became clear that ecosystems don't observe land ownership boundaries, but it's part of a whole. These areas need to be managed with an eye towards the whole. The fact that we've migrated our control program to something that's proactive, that works, and that holds promise for the future, I think was a huge step for us in not only meeting a current and terrible invasive species problem, but also being true to our commitment to take care of the issues that affect us and threaten us.
The sourcing methods we've designed were designed with what was best for the animal in mind. From working at night instead of day, which is the least stressful for the animal, moving our mobile processing facilities from site to site every single night, going to all of the lengths to ensure we're collecting enough data and we have all of the right equipment to make sure they're sourced under stress-free conditions. And in the end, having this animal be viewed as a food resource, maybe instead of an invasive species, is what's best for the animal.
Lead, take a lead. Yeah. On him.
It's good on my part.
Good.
Good.
There's this word that we use here, it's a Hawaiian word, kuleana, and it's kind of this deep sense of personal and professional responsibility. And you know, your job isn't limited to just moving this herd or just planting these trees. It's this greater goal and ambition to keep this space open and to keep the character of Hawaii, especially on these neighbor islands, keep it country. And it means we need to succeed at what we do.
We'll harvest a mature animal. That animal is then carried on somebody's back. And there's like a very interesting connection that comes with, at the end of that animal's life, you hand carrying that thing to the next stage of its life, which is food. There's more oversight to what we do than any other red meat species. Not only do we have to have an inspector with us the entire time to make sure the process is humane, after that inspector has viewed our entire process and made sure those animals are healthy, then a USDA veterinarian also has to come in for every single animal, check all of the remains of that animal to ensure they're healthy, check that those animals have been harvested humanely. Then only after 2 USDA personnel looking at every single animal are we allowed to stamp it and it's considered safe for human consumption. Those animals on a daily basis have a choice of hundreds of different plant species to eat, and they're constantly varying that based on their own health. So when we eat that animal is easily one of the healthiest red meat species on the planet.
Hawaii is so unique because we're so isolated. You know, everything had to get here either through wind, wings, or water. And that isolation created amazing rates of adaptive radiation, where one founder species turns into, in some cases, hundreds of different species. You go from one gulch to the next gulch and you find different species of snail, different species of fern, to have the birds adapt to where their beaks perfectly fit into the flowers that are here. One deer can take away an entire species that they enjoy eating. Every species has an important role in a native ecosystem, and one species that's missing can cause a breakdown. All these things are interconnected.
Some of these core trees are hundreds of years old, and they're beautiful, but we're not seeing any seedlings, we're not seeing any regeneration. These are the last in this space. It's always amazing to get to go and plant our native trees in our native forest. When we do our work, that is just the ultimate for us. When we're returning trees into the forest, we say, Iola oi, iola makoni. When you live, I live. That's what it translates to. Your health, your well-being is my health, is my well-being. The health of the deer we work with, that's our health. The health of the communities, the ranchers, the farmers, that's our health. The health of a forest, that's our health. It's our responsibility to manage them, to restore balance. There are things that we're working towards that we don't even know yet. We don't know what. We have intact forests on a very small scale, so we cannot even fathom what it will be, not just for us, but all of our communities, communities being the people we share space with and the plants and species that we share space with. All of that isn't possible if we don't find a balance for species like Axis deer in Hawaii.
If you don't have the passion for what you're doing, you'll never be very good at it. Guys that want to work all night long, they can see that they're going to make a benefit on the environment.